Hey everybody, Dr. G here. I'm a licensed clinical psychologist and body language expert, and today we're going to be analyzing the sentencing of Taylor Schabusiness. Taylor Schabusiness was recently found guilty for the murder of Shad Thyrion. While both of them were using methamphetamine, she beheaded him and then did strange things to the body. Last couple of things before we get started, I wanted to make sure that you know this is not a psychological evaluation of any kind. These are just my opinions based on the information that's publicly available, including her behavior and her body language. In addition to that, I wanted to give a shout out to a channel I was recently on talking about Ruby Franke and Jody Hildebrandt called Duty Ron. If you haven't seen Duty Ron before, it is some of the best true crime, not just on YouTube, but literally anywhere. You got to check out his YouTube channel. You get Duty Ron, you get Ed Wallace. They're both retired NYPD detectives. They have an amazing perspective on things, and it is some of the most informative and entertaining content anywhere around. And while you're checking out Duty Ron, don't forget to subscribe to his channel. In addition, while you're here, don't forget to subscribe to this channel if you want to see more content just like this. All right, let's go. So today we're going to be looking at parts of Taylor Schabusiness' sentencing. As you can see right here, she has a spit guard on. I don't know why. I don't know what she did, but it's not surprising given some of her previous behaviors, such as attacking her attorney and doing some other outrageous behaviors. So while we don't know why she's wearing this, she is going to be wearing this throughout the sentencing. Let's just jump right in. So the early footage doesn't have any audio, so I'm just going to be talking over some of this. But as you can see, Taylor Schabusiness very much has the same sort of look, the same gait she always has. She's squinting her eyes right now. She's probably smiling. You're going to be seeing her do this throughout the sentencing. You'll notice she's got a very casual posture. She's leaning back in her chair. She doesn't look stressed out by any of this. Same as last time, she's just sort of looking around, does look amused. You can see the way that her eyes get squinted sometimes. She does have a tendency to smile. If you watch the trial, you'll know she has a tendency to look at the cameras. Not much has changed here, as you're going to see. She does have a tendency to just stare at the camera at random times. This is just typical behavior of Taylor Schabusiness. Not much has changed since we last saw her.
My father's name?
No,
He did?
no. Taylor's father, what's his name?
Oh, Arturo Coronado.
Okay. That's your son, correct?
Yes.
When Taylor was growing
So you can see the body posture changed a little bit. Right now, they're talking to her grandmother. And this is sort of a defiant stance, trying to lean back in her chair, trying to look very casual. We see this sometimes when people are trying to be defiant. So that really is sort of a defiant, sort of relaxed stance that we're seeing.
up as a young girl, did she live with you in Temple, Texas, together with AJ having his hat on back?
You'll probably notice her eyebrows are moving up and down. This is the same behavior that we saw during the trial. During inappropriate times, her grandmother's talking, appears to be upset. I'm going to rewind so you can watch this again.
There's a picture of the two of them together with AJ having his hat on backwards. They appear to be happy. Is that fair?
Yes, that's correct.
There was another picture where AJ...
And then her eyes are squinting again. It looks like she's probably smiling right here, inappropriately smiling once again. We've seen plenty of this from her before.
Taylor and...
Now we're going to watch a little bit of Dr. O'Donnell talk. He's a doctor of pharmacy, and they're going to be asking him questions about methamphetamine and the effects on the brain. For those of you that aren't used to watching sentencings, the trial is over. She has been found guilty, and now the judge has to determine the sentence. And so the witnesses are coming in for the defense to make it so it's a more lenient sentence. So the idea is that if they can prove that she will be able to be a functional member of society or something like that, or that she really shouldn't be considered too much at fault for what she did, then they can get a lighter sentence, hopefully. That's the idea. So I just wanted to let you know that before we watch some of Dr. O'Donnell talk.
Ms. Schabusiness indicated that she had used 51 hits of methamphetamine prior to the incident on or about February 22nd.
So if you look, once again, she looks amused by this. Now, this is one of the times when I think she's actually reacting to what's being talked about. They're talking about her doing 51 hits of methamphetamine, which seems very unlikely. I think that would kill literally any human being. But I think that the idea that they're talking about this does bring her amusement. Watch her reaction right here.
Amphetamine prior to the incident on or about February 22nd of 2022.
Chronic use in similar situations, she's already damaged goods. She always has brain damage. She already has brain damage from coming, such that even without the use of continuing use of methamphetamine, there is chronic damage that is present as a result of that.
So I'm showing this because I think it's very interesting that the defense decided to use Dr. O'Donnell to explain these things, because really what they're saying is that her brain is damaged, that there's no fully coming back from this. And if that's the case, how could she ever be safe to be out in public again? That's the question I have, because for the defense to prove that, to me, sounds like a case that she really shouldn't be exposed to the public again, that she would be dangerous, that if she used methamphetamines again, she could do something similar. We have no reason to believe that she wouldn't do something similar or couldn't do something similar, because they're basically saying that she is not going to ever regain the functioning she had before using methamphetamine. And she was using it intravenously. In other words, she was injecting it. Shad Thyrion's uncle just got done giving his victim impact statement. And it's interesting because right now her eyebrows appear to be in a sad position. Like oftentimes when they're shaped like hers are right now, we associate that with sadness. But watch how they change. And then she goes to almost a cartoonishly angry look. Her behavior tends to be a little bit all over the place, but she does seem to know what's going on. When Shad's uncle was talking, she was looking over at him, but now she's just sort of looking everywhere, making faces, doing what she does.
I'm gonna miss Shad. He was a wonderful child too. Growing up, just mild mannered and just happy, and I know you made a bad choice, and like I said, I forgive you. And
now you'll see her nodding her head right there. This is something that she did even prior to the trial. We've got videos of her nodding her head along with things. That just seems to be this odd sort of behavior she does. And she's also not really reacting to the fact that Shad Thyrion's father is now talking about his son.
And I'm going to ask the judge if he can, if she can see the streets again sometime, It may not be soon, but I believe everybody, I think there's a lot of hope for you. I think, you can make use of your time and be a better person and do great things yet,
So Shad Thyrion's father is giving a remarkably forgiving speech, and she still does not seem to show any emotion behind it. And that's something that shows how disconnected she is and how little remorse she shows. I think for anybody who would be told that, who would essentially have someone wishing them well in the future in their life, and what sounded to be very genuine, she shows no movement. She shows nothing to suggest that she feels anything from that.
As far as this incident and these events go, I think I've spoken to this already in prior hearings, but the fact of the matter is, when I watched the interview with law enforcement shortly after these events, I observed someone who was lucid, understanding what was going on, was tracking what was being asked of her.
Now you'll see something very brief right here. Watch her shake her head when he says that she was lucid, knew what was going on.
Understanding what was going on.
So she is protesting this. While I don't think that she's shaking her head because she actually didn't know what was going on. It's interesting that when the judge is calling her out, because he really is the one with the power in this room, she's sitting there shaking her head and doing something that is actually consistent with what's going on around her. She's not just acting out and looking around and mugging at the camera and all that stuff.
It's not a battle that the system wins often, but we're making some headway, and every little step we take is perhaps one life that can be saved as a result of that drug coming into this community.
For anybody who watched the trial, you know exactly the face that she's making right now as she squints her eyes like this. She would bunch up her face. It was just sort of an unusual look, and it appears that she's still doing it as he's talking about the impact of drugs on her life.
It's that she loves her son, and I'm going to say more about that in a minute, but that's a piece of who she is because she's a mom, and I think that is a title that is a precious title.
And see, as the judge is talking about things that could be considered emotional, she starts acting strange again, opening her eyes wide, moving her eyebrows around.
I've heard about her son who lives in Texas, and I'm absolutely convinced that she loves her son. And I'm going to say more about that in a minute, but that Ms. Schabusiness gets, which in light of these charges is going to be a life sentence, every human...
All right, so we saw a little bit of a reaction when he said that she's going to get a life sentence. You see the eyes blinking. There is stress there.
which in light of these charges is going to be a life sentence, every human being has the ability to move forward and find meaning in their life. With that, then, this matter is now concluded. Thank you.
Thank you.
So for anybody who thinks that she just has no idea what's going on, she's now engaging in appropriate behavior. She's scooting her chair over so that she can see what she's supposed to sign. She does seem to understand the situation. She's nodding her head along. She does seem to be following her attorney. So at this point, they cut the volume off so that you can't hear the private discussions between an attorney and her client, which I understand. But I just wanted to comment a little bit on her behavior at this point. She basically has kept up the same kind of behavior we saw throughout the trial. We saw it wax and wane throughout the trial, and after she was found guilty, we saw it settle down a little bit. This time, we're seeing more of the kind of squinting behavior, the smiling, the laughing, the same kind of stuff that we saw last time. But if you think this is purely caused by mental health issues or brain damage from methamphetamine use, keep in mind, there are times where she's been very lucid. She gave very lucid interviews. She really seemed to know what was going on then, and she has not used methamphetamine since then. So you have to keep in mind, if this is caused from brain damage, it's hard to imagine that makes a lot of sense. In addition, if this is fully psychological, if this is something that is due to purely to mental health issues, I would think that they would have it a little bit better managed at this point through medication, therapies, and otherwise. So she does seem to like to put on a bit of a performance during all of this, because right now she does, as you can see, does seem to know what's going on. Her movements are a lot more fluid. She's looking at people a little bit more appropriately than she was before, and she does seem to have some idea of what's going on. I hope watching this has helped you get a better understanding of the Taylor Schabusiness trial and her behaviors during sentencing. So if you haven't seen Taylor Schabusiness before, I highly recommend you go back and watch some of the trial. This is a very interesting and tragic case. So I highly recommend you check out some of the old videos if you haven't seen them yet. In addition to that, if there's anything that you want me to analyze, any case going on that you think is interesting, as always, please let me know in the comments below. Last thing before we wrap things up is I do want to remind you to like and subscribe if you want to see more content just like this. All right, thanks for watching.